Right, so the next section that we're gonna be looking into is dyeing the fabric. So right here, I'm gonna be using royal blue, and I'm probably gonna be using this royal blue for majority of the experiments. I will break out a second color for when I do a second dye of my fabric, and kind of just so you can see kind of what the process looks like of re-waxing it and stuff. But yeah, so for majority of them, we'll be using this rich blue color. And yeah, so that's what's up next. So I'm about to start my second experiment. In this experiment, I'll be exploring whether the time spent in dye affects the depth of color on fabric. And kind of, if that holds true, to what degree does that affect the color in the fabric after a set period of time. And so the way that I'm conducting this is I am taking eight very similarly sized pieces of white cotton fabric, just kind of here in a stack. I'm going to place them in the dye, and then one by one I'm going to take them out at different increments of time. And right now my increments of time are 5 minutes, 15 minutes, half an hour, 1 hour, 2 hours, 6 hours, and 12 hours. So the reason why I chose these increments is 5 minutes is a relatively short time to have something sitting in dye for, so I kind of wanted to see one that was taken out pretty quickly. And then 15 minutes is the typical amount of time that fabric spends in dye while doing the craft of batik. So I wanted to see what it looked like at that point in time, and then slowly increase the increments of time beyond that to see if it actually had an impact, or whether or not there was a certain threshold that it reaches and it just won't get any darker. So I'm excited to explore that right now. I'm currently boiling water for the dye. But yeah, so this is basically the only ingredients are the blue dye that I'm making right now and these white cotton sheets. I'll be using a timer on my phone, and at each increment I'll take them out, and then I'm going to rinse them off with cold water and then place them on my little makeshift drying rack, or clothesline, I guess is the best word to describe it. But yeah, so that's kind of the idea with this experiment. Okay, so I already added in about 1.5 gallons of water to this bucket right here, and as you can see the steam's coming out. I have the fan on just to get rid of any plastic fumes, but at the moment I'm just gonna roll it forward on a rolly cart. I am going to add in the last 1/2 gallon of water, and then after that I'll be adding the pack of blue dye. Typically it's meant for 3 gallons of water. I just don't have that much space in here, or there is enough space, but it's more so just not wanting to waste a bunch of water. The color intensity will hopefully pick up, and yeah, so I'm just gonna add that, the dye, and the salt. So just to take a look right now, this is what the water looks like. This bag right here. So pour this in. Okay, so the dye has been added. And then next I'm going to add 1/2 cup of salt. And then the final touch is that they recommended adding about 1 teaspoon of clothing detergent. So I'm just gonna throw this in, just like that. All right. Now I'm gonna throw my gloves because I don't want to stain my hands blue. And honestly, for mixing tool, I have a Wendy's spoon, so this will hopefully do. So while I wait for that to set, I will show you what the dye currently looks like. Currently looks like this. So it's gonna I have to let that sit for a few minutes and then I'll start adding fabric. So in all honesty,